Let's just let the system catch up with ourselves. It always takes a little bit for things to click into place and for working. There we are. Let's see if we can. Aha, now we've picked up on there. Well, it's telling me I've gone live, but I can't see it as a live. Let's go events. Okay. Excellent. Hopefully we've now found it. So it looks like it's gone live in the events and has not cleared onto the main page yet, but hopefully it will get there. It's never quite guaranteed with any of these things. Hi Dee, thank you for joining me this evening. Could you just let me know in the comments that you can hear and see me without any problems? I will be changing my screen over fairly soon. Hi Elizabeth, welcome my darling. Hi Sheila. So a little bit of housekeeping for the day. This is my regular Tuesday live for Pentart. If you can see the red live button at the top of the left of the screen, then you are watching as the live stream goes out. If that little red box is not there, then you are watching on replay. If you quote hashtag replay into the comments, I will know that you visited, and if you have any comments or anything you need me to clarify, then just let me know in a comment and I will be happy to sort things out by responding to the comments. If I'm not tagged, then I don't know that that's necessarily what's going on, as the live goes out on Pentart's page, not my own. Good evening, Elizabeth. Welcome. Hi, Sheila. Thank you, Dee, for letting me know. Good evening, Bridget. Welcome. And we have Deirdre joining us from Northern Ireland as well. So that's all rather very lovely. And the clock says that we have just ticked forward to just gone 6 o'clock. So I'm just going to move my screens around because you really don't need to see my ugly mugshot in quite such a large size. So let us just swap to something where you can see the making more than me. Good evening, Sylvia. Welcome. There we are. So that makes much more sense. Let me just remove that branding off there because that's also not very helpful over there. Hi, Jan. Welcome. It's nice to see everyone. It won't come up as me. It'll come up as a Pentart live on YouTube. I'm hoping that all is well, because when I went to the Pentart's Facebook page, it didn't show it. So I had to go into the events section. So we'll see. Yeah, it's never quite guaranteed. Oops, and I want those out. So we are going to be working with the new Pentart products. So we have the leather varnish glossy, the leather varnish matte. These are finishing products that convert your fabric and leather paints from being decorative only into usable products that will resist water and also wear and tear. It's important whenever you're working with leather or faux leather that you have a proper cleaner that will remove dirt, grime, but also the finishes that are put on the leather, for like the polishes or silicone, that might help cause your paint to resist if you don't do that. This clearly would say it's a solvent-based product. I have both doors and both ends of my conservatory open, so that I have plenty of ventilation, as you should when you're working with any solvent-based product. And there it is, dropped in the bin. So we're working on literally scrap leather today. Yeah, I appreciate that actually sometimes you might not want to upcycle a pair of shoes or a bag or even, a faux table, but this is genuinely proper scrap leather. And you can pick up scrap leather in bags relatively cheaply, but you can also get it by looking for discarded leather sofas, maybe. That's a good way of dealing with it. And also from, you know, leather jackets or anything that might have gone off to the charity shop. And we're making little goods today because sometimes you might want something that's giftable and totally bespoke to the person you're making. I've deliberately steered clear of using initials and things, but my idea of customizing and bespoke is that actually you can then make products suitable for gifting, but design it and the colorways that work for your intended recipient. So that's the plan for today, little gifts. Dee, if you're literally chucking out a leather sofa, please can you chop out of the back of it a large piece of the leather so that I can, and send it back with Liz tomorrow, so that I can do that. So I have literally this is from a scrap bag of leather, and I'm just giving that a jolly good clean. And as you can see, it's that from my paper cloth, it's lifting all sorts of rubbish off my piece of faux leather. Let's just tuck that piece out of the way. So I can't tell you what this is based, you know, what the chemical is. I know it has a fairly pungent smell. Think acetone, nail polish. That's okay. I'm sure I will be able to collect it. So there we are. So just give it a good clean. Remove all the rubbish. You can see that it's, you know, it's lifting stuff off the surface, and because it's a solvent base, it's going to clear and have a dry surface reasonably quickly, because the solvent will evaporate. I'm just going to make sure that that is lidded properly and pop somewhere where I am not going to knock it over, because that so wouldn't be helpful. So this is a little guide as to where we're going this evening. Bookmarks, bag dangles, earrings, could be other things, but I wanted to celebrate the fact that we've got a natural product, and that we could use them for lots of different things, if that's okay. So I'm thinking that I might well stick with the same colour theme that I've got here, so the pinks and the purples, but I might change up some of the other things. And I've got an area that is already dry. Now I'm wanting to blend some of my colours. Let me just move those out of the way, shuffle that lot out of the way. There we are. And these paints are quite thick, so let me just dollop, she said dollop being a technical term, of course, a little bit of that paint onto there. You can see that I'm actually getting down in this paint, but hey ho. And we will add a little bit of some fabric medium to this to thin it down a little bit, and that will help the blendability of these pieces. And let's just grab a second palette knife and add that. I've got an area that is already dried, so I don't particularly need to have masses of this. So that is the violet leather paint. Hello darling, welcome my darling. I trust that you are well. So there we are. A little bit of that into there, and let's just mix those up. So that is the fabric and leather paint, which stays flexible when it's dried. It's a water-based product, which makes for easy cleanup, but it will adhere to leather and faux leather surfaces. And actually it's not exclusively for leather and faux leather. It's also will work very well for ordinary fabrics. There we are. So let's just mix these together. There we are. It's the retarder will just help the fluidity of these paints and the mixing, and I don't need to be uberly overly precise. I'm just going to literally mix these pieces, the colours on here, and I've got quite a dark background. I may well need to layer some of these colours together as on top of each other, just to build and a density of the paint. The paler the colours, the more that I find that you need to layer. But really, it's not a great hardship to have the others. And you can see that this is definitely a scrap piece of leather, not something that I have specifically gone. So raid the tips for old pieces of leather that might be disappearing. Think ahead when someone says that they're getting a new leather sofa, and use that. Things, and you could, this is about being as precise as you or imprecise as you want at this stage, because really I'm not looking for an overall even tone. I'm looking for a mixture of shades and variations for the backgrounds of my pieces. But there we are. So I would suggest that we just give that a little bit of a blast dry, and then I can add another layer over the top of that. Oh, she says putting a heater on would help. There we are. Let's just, sorry, while I scrabble on the floor. That's always helpful. So unlike last week, where I really couldn't take a heat gun to my foam leather, I certainly can tonight, because this is a proper leather, and so it's not really going to, well, it won't melt on me because leather doesn't. It's a really robust product, and I have no intention of taking a naked flame to it. And I'm going to add another layer of paint to this, because at the moment I can't really see the true colours of these paints. And I just would quite like them to dry a little bit more to show you that you can get really good coverage. I have another one that a part that I have already done a little bit of tinkering with, and have already sealed, so that will make life better from that point of view. And there we are. So it doesn't take very long to dry, and so I can now add another layer of paint over this, build up my colour, and that's, and I will get a solid coverage. So I can now see that that's much better. It's looking quite dark at the moment, and I think that might be because actually there we are. Let's just add some of that vibrant pink into there. If you start out with a white base, then it becomes obviously easier to show things, but you work with what you've got. You could paint a layer of white fabric paint on first, let that set, seal it, and then add some more if that's what you wanted to do. So I would literally just carry on building this up bit by bit until I was happy with my overall piece of colouring. Hang on a minute, Dolly, and I will show you just what it does. So that is a piece that I'm just going to chop that bit off, because actually, because otherwise I'm going to put my sticky mitts in it. So let me just chop this bit off at the bottom. Sorry, I'm off screen. Just got an ordinary pair of scissors. I do have leather shears, and I can just pop that out of the way to dry. And let's just have a wipe up of that mess, because you are right, I am working on a very soft leather. The paints will also work on the material veg tan, which is a very hard leather that is heat shapeable in the oven. But here we are. But I thought I'd work on something that people might easily be able to get hold of. So this is a piece that I have pre-painted. If I mix it up, I've got the pinks, I've got the purples, and mixtures all in there. We're going to mix things up. And I am literally going to show you just how flexible that is, Dolly, in answer to your question. Because I have, as you've just seen, given that a really good scrunch. Now I will say that once my paint had dried, I had given that a good layer of the matte leather varnish, which is water based. So water based means it's easy to clean up for your brushes, they won't go solid, so it adds a layer of protection. And if I just sprinkle some water onto here, and lift this up, you can see how the water has beaded on there. So we'll wipe off quite happily with a piece of towel. So these are leather water repellent that has been left to dry for 24 hours. So there we are. So that's quite a helpful activity. So let me just do a little bit of tinkering, and we're going to do a bit of dividing of this up to show some different techniques, because from here on out it's really up to you. So let us just do a little bit of squaring off of this, so we can cut this piece up. And let's just grab a blade, and I can now literally sharp blade, and I will get through it. Honestly, I will. There we are. Wow, that bit is being particularly resistant to the idea of being cut. There we are. We are getting through. Obviously, new blades required. Okay, so as you say, this is entirely flexible. I can't make it any more flexible than that, really, can I? And the paint isn't cracking off, so that's cool. So I know I would like a strip suitable for a bookmark, so that's probably 3 centimeters. So let's just line that up. 1, 2, 3, that's 4. Let's go 3 centimeters. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 at that end. So all I'm doing is using my craft mat, lining that up, and I can then cut myself off a nice even strip. I really probably ought to have changed the blade in my knife from the feel of things. Yeah. Have I got a new set? I have got a new set of blades. Just bear with. It's the best laid plans of mice and men, isn't it? So let's just pop that there safely out of harm's way, and let's get a nice new blade, because otherwise we might be here for a little way, and it's actually far safer to cut with a sharp blade than it is with a blunt blade. Come on, there we are. So that can go into there. That can be tightened. That can go back into there. That's now locked into place. Yeah, we are getting that. That's cut. Okay. So that's the only piece that I particularly want to be straight. Actually, we might cut 2 pieces that are straight. So if I line this up now, so it is flat along a edge, and let's just trim off an end so it's neat and tidy. There we are. Sharp blade really does work. We'll have and we'll go for a bookmark that maybe is 8 inches long. So somewhere, let's just turn that around, work to a size that I'm happy with. Somewhere around there. So let's just then cut that off. Sharp blade definitely makes a huge difference. So there we are. So for that piece can go over there. We'll not need to worry about that for the moment. If we want, we might do something to make a bracelet. So let's just take another piece. So I'm just hoping to show that these don't have to be expensive products or expensive makes. 1, 2, 3. Because we can, you know, I'm really not using masses of product doing this. There we are. And I might have, well, and I'm definitely going to need another new blade, but hey ho, such is life. There we are. There. Okay, so we've got 2 strips, and I can straighten that one up as I might want to, and I might end up, she says, because I can't see imminently what I've done with those, but hey ho, we might skinny that down later on. So let's have a play now with this piece of multicoloured, a bit abstract, not very evenly painted, and that's absolutely fine, and in a way that hopefully isn't scary for people, because as many of you know, technically I am so not an artist. I'm just not, so there's no point in hiding it. And so that has been painted, allowed to dry, and then I have added the varnish over the top and left that to dry. So I'm wanting to add some extra detail to this, so I have the fabric and leather paint in the gold glitter. So this will go on milky. Let me just give this a little bit of stencil spray up front, because I've got a bit of a wonky surface, and that's going to help stick that down. And I'm going to only use parts of this stencil because that's all I need to do. And we're going to use these to make a pair of sparkly earrings, because why wouldn't you? So let me just mix that up. So this is nice thick paste, crammed full of glitter. It will look not particularly attractive because it's in a white base, but will dry uber sparkly. I definitely won't need that amount. So literally all I'm going to do is apply that through there. Make sure I've got a layer, and then I'm going to take that off. And I want my earrings to be sided, i.e. I want each one to point in different directions. So so that means I need to just give that a good dry, a good wipe. Let's spray the other side with a little bit of stencil spray. Pop this on here, and yeah, we can pop that upside down onto there, and then we can add some of this onto here. I'm going to be cutting these out. I'm just using things that we might have at home that are relatively simple, not complicated ideas and techniques, because I don't want to be scary when people are using them, because that's also not helpful. And here we are. So if I lift that up, I've now got that over there, and I'm just going to pop it to the side and give this little stencil. Yeah, I can see just how much glitter is stuck in this. This is a Stamperia stencil from a long time ago, but pick the motif you want. You could be doing butterflies that will hang. You just then need to think about how you're going to attach them to the jewelry findings. But yeah, butterflies would look lovely, particularly if you did them with some of the sparkly paints. And there's lots of colours in the sparkle colours, so from that point of view. So whilst that has a chance to dry, I'm just going to take my my bookmark area. Let's just give that a spray, because I've wiped off the things. And then let's just pop this onto here. And I'm using this as a background image. I'm not intending it to be entirely perfect, and that's fine. So I've now reverted back to the fabric and leather paint in pistachio. So let me just pick up a little tad of that. Let's just have a clean, pop that into there. I'm not wanting this to be thin because I'm wanting, yeah, so I've now got sparkly hands to stencil through, and thicker paint is definitely better for stenciling. And all I've done is work that into some cut and dry foam, and then I can work that through my stencil quite happily. Okay, so let's just lift that off there, pop that over there. That can dry. Let's just take the other one. As I say, you could do this with lots of different things. So I'm going to deliberately, I think, use the text on this one. I have a different plan. Let's just pop that over there to dry. I'm not sure that there is a Pentart stockist in Ireland of lots of these products. If you are in Northern Ireland, you can certainly ship from Oakwood Archer in the UK, because they will ship. And there are a limited number of products on 14 Craft Bar's website if you're in Southern Ireland, but I'm not too sure that there is someone who holds lots. But if you're in Southern Ireland, then my suggestion is that you look at Viola Crafts, which is based in Hungary, but they have a very good shipping arrangement, and they will, so you can get it shipped in from Viola Crafts quite comfortably. They have a really, really good range of Pentart products. They have a reasonable minimum order to qualify for free postage and packaging. I don't know about other retailers. So let's just pop that over there. And now we're going to pop that out of harm's way, de-yuck the fingers, and let's just have a little dry of some of these pieces. Okay, whilst that is drying, I want to create myself Viola Crafts. Absolutely, Dolly, they will ship. So I've just now got a Posca pen. I actually think I'm better free forming these. So, but let me pop this around this way. So I want an abstract feather for the next piece, she says. Try not to do that. So I'm going to deliberately do a long quill up here. Yeah, because I'm going to need to fold that over onto my finding, and then I just want a feather shape, and you can make that as long or as short as you want, and I want a central marking point. Okay, so let me just, and then you need a nice pair of scissors. Now I don't particularly want to be working with a serrated pair of scissors at this point, so if we do these bits, and there was method in my madness as to why I have chosen to do lots of different bits, is it's going to allow me to dry. So that's a really simple, a really simple shape, easily drawn, not very much skill required, even if I do say it myself. And now I can cut on here, and if you wanted, you could paint the other side and again add to it. So I'm just literally got a sharp pair of scissors, and I am going to cut out my long thin scissor feather. Even, as I say, at this end you do need to leave yourself a reasonable tail. You can trim off, but you can't add in, if that's okay. So let me just pop that onto here and pop that into there, because this is just so simple. It really isn't a difficult thing to do. But if you're wanting bag charms or journal dangles for the covers, you can make these in any colour that you want and in any size that you want. Yes, I've deliberately picked one that's quite long, but it doesn't really matter. So I can keep that because I've got scraps here that I could maybe cut out smaller size pieces and then use for other things. And at this point, it really couldn't get any simpler. So here is my shape, and literally all I'm going to now do is cut lots and lots. So bear with. And the central mark is to stop me just going too far with my pair of scissors, because it's going to give me my feathery pieces. And yes, it might be a little bit of a labour of love, having chosen something that is quite so long, but that's also just fine, because what's a little bit of time when it comes to making something bespoke for your friends? I'm going to say this could be a bag dangle, it could go on a journal, and as a journal dangle. You could use it as a bookmark in its own right, so I've got alternative plans for that. So I'm literally just going, and it doesn't matter if these are various sizes, because or even if the angles change, or even if you chop some bits off, it'll just give you a slightly different outline to your piece. So just bear with whilst we carry on chopping our way down here, and then I'll show you what I'm going to use for the jewellery finding. They're very easy to find. I'm not using anything that is difficult to source in any way, shape or form. So this, but I'm just to say, I was just wanting to show that you don't need to have lots of difficult specialist things, that you can just customize, recycle, have fun, make yourself some gifts with small leather gifts. People will think that you've paid a small fortune for a leather item, because we all know that leather isn't particularly cheap. There we are. But because it is leather, it's quite robust. So these thin fronds that I'm creating are not going to come to huge amounts of harm, even if they get caught in, in things. They'll be reasonably robust, and the natural leather is going to show through, because they won't stay flat. They'll get shape and they'll ruffle with time, but it's not so difficult. So can you? Absolutely, they can. So, Dolly, I did a live last week for Penta. So if you have that lot, where I actually launched the products that I'm using tonight, on a faux leather, aka leatherette, table mat, and that and that has worked perfectly well, and that I'm intending to use outside in the garden for barbecues and the rest of it. And I'm really sorry, because I'm just going to have to go through the pain of doing all of this all the way down, and I clearly should have thought about that when I decided to draw myself such a big feather. But hey ho, such is life. So I've just changed my angle slightly at the end, and that's intentional. I'm just pulling it in towards the end of the feather, because that's what happens on a natural feather. The directions change. Okay. You see, and then we'll add some extra detail into this. Okay, so now I'm really sorry, ladies, and we are just going to have to repeat the process. And this is why we're having that extra black line that I drew down the middle is really going to be very, very helpful. But if if you're wanting to sell things at a craft fairs, maybe, or or gift, or you have an Etsy shop already, these are not going to cost you an arm and a leg to make. They will take a little bit of time, but not an inordinate amount of time. And as I say, you can make these then in any colour that you wanted. And it's just a question of playing with the shapes and the forms and the materials. Yeah, I definitely think that these look better if you take the time just to make lots and lots of thin cuts, because that's more natural in terms of a feather, isn't it? So there we are. So that one's too big. Can I go in the middle? Yeah, I can. So yeah, it's not gonna take me a silly amount of time, but I would definitely advise putting that black line down the middle, because it's going to make your life much easier and make it you're much less at risk of chopping all the way through and suddenly having your strip of leather in two pieces, because that's not quite the intention. So there we are. Oops, she says chopping off a little bit there because she wasn't quite down the same line, but that's okay. It won't matter. It really won't. You do need to leave yourself a central spine though, for durability. There we are. And I might have done one of those a little bit too far in, but that's okay. There we are. Okay, so we now have, and if we just give it a nice little ruffle, there we are. We have a bow charm dangle. It's covered in bits of leather edging, but that's okay. I can tackle that. And then there we are. Yeah, would absolutely work for chokers, bracelets, anything that you wanted it to. So these are cord endings, which you can pick up relatively easily. So don't be worried about that. There we are. Actually, am I going to use... That's not what I want for those. I do apologise. I do apologise. So this is literally a carabiner. So it will go on to... She says she picks up one that's not going to open. Let's find one that will open. That's what happens, isn't it, when you buy them off Amazon? So it's a carabiner class. I will get it working. Well, that's very naughty. So I apologise about this, because you don't expect these not to work, do you, when you buy a packet of them? And what's the betting all of them in the packet work? But anyway, yeah, I will have to add some oil to that. So I'll do that later on. So the reason for this long tail is that I can now pop that through there and I can turn this over and add some of my lovely express glue down there, and I can pop this, and you can take that down as long or so as you want. There we are. We'll pop that onto there, and I just now need that glue to grab, so let me give that a little bit of time. There we are. Thank you, Dolly. There we are. It's just a bit different, isn't it? So I now have my little feather on a carabiner that will work as a bag charm, and I've just felt that it still lacked a bit of oomph, a bit of interest. Didn't want it to continue to have that black line down the middle, so I have some of the Pentacolor contour liner. This one's in bronze. Now, I did check this before I went live, so I can now get rid of that black line, won't matter if I don't, and add the black line into it, and then I can just add some extra details into here and add as much or as little as I want. And it's just going to stick on some of those leather pieces, but it's just adding another layer of texture and detail onto the piece. So if that makes sense, there we are. And adding, there we are, just add a few more bits of that into there. So there we are. And so we'll lid that. So that is project number 1. So I'm just going to pop that onto the floor. So we've got our customized beater, but actually if you made that a little bit shorter, added 2 or 3, then actually if I put it up here, you could wear it as a long line necklace quite happily. So very festival, very boho, but also uber versatile. The other ones are still drying, so let me take our bookmark piece, and I'm just going to make sure this is dry. So this is going to become a bookmark. So I'm going to retrieve a pencil because I don't particularly want this to be evident. And we have tassel, frilly bits on the end of leather. I think we're going to go that way on the end of leather pieces, don't we? Or leather bookmarks. So let me just put a line there. Yeah, because your scissors are your best friend, aren't they? So I'm just going to pop a little line on here, and this is a guideline for me, because horror of horrors, let's swap to that pair of scissors. We are just going to add, and this way, by having drawn that line, I can add a little. Certainly in the UK, leather bookmarks sold in gift centres at expensive prices with lots of logos on them for different companies have all got these little tassely bits. So there we are. We can hopefully, without chopping that up. So I've now got a little frilly bit at the bottom from that, and that's still looking altogether a bit, just a wee tad boring. So I thought, what else have I got that I could use that's going to make a difference, that's going to allow me to do something that is different, add some extra detail maybe. And these are literally just Stamperia rub-ons. So let's take a small one of those, and that's a corner. So let's just pop that up at the top and give it a little brim. Oh, you could do all sorts, my darling, with these, and you could do magic bracelets where you cut a strip and then 2 lines inside of it, and then contort yourself to get all of the hairs. There we are. So the rub-on will work, goes onto these quite nicely. So you could do these in steampunk style, nautical, depending on your colourway. You take your pick of what you want, what you like, and then add as much detail or as much colourway as you want. There we are. Let's just add some extra bits. We don't particularly want... well, let's take that one. We can take that. So you can add, as I say, and there's masses of rub-ons now on the market, aren't there? Loads and loads and loads of them. So, well, you can let me know your suggestions and comment on my page, Dolly, when you've just, with all of your different ideas, because I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? So that can go into there. I might just add, I know it's adding 4, and we should maybe not be adding things in different numbers, but hey ho, it's what's going to work for me tonight. So let's just pick this piece up. Right. So you can carry on. And there we are. Let's just cover that lock and go across there. That echoes sort of that one on the other side. Doesn't matter that they're going off the side. I can tackle that. Excellent. Do I like it like that? I could add some splatters. You could add numbers. You could add letters. There's a myriad of different things that you could add into there. Let's see if I've got any. Yeah. I don't think I want to add any of those. So there we are. So at this point, and I have to say that I would do the same with with all of the pieces. I'm going to do this one now because the other pieces are still drying. I'm just going to take my matte leather varnish, but you could just as easily be using the glossy one. That will work fine. And I'm just going to paint a layer of these over there. It would be quite difficult to stretch those, to scrape the rub-ons off. But the blue paint hadn't been sealed, so it seems to me to make more sense now. And it's going on milky, but it will dry absolutely clear. No, Sarah, I haven't. But I'm sure they'll be wonderful. So that just now needs to sit to dry. Yeah, and pop that down there. Aha, there we are. So my yucky things from earlier on. Let's just take off that glue from the stencil. Oh dear, have I unleashed a monster? Just get this properly dry, because that's what's needed, isn't it? Partly because I'm going to want to be cutting these out in a minute, and that's not helpful when it's still wet. And I will need to seal them. I'm sorry, Deirdre. I am sorry. So let me just chop this out a little bit. It's going to be easier for me to handle this when it's not in the big piece. So we'll pop that over there. Okay, so sharp pair of scissors just off the line of the stenciling. As I say, you could do this quite happily with a butterfly. you might then need to punch a hole in it to add it to a piece of jewellery. So I've gone up there and I'm wanting an end that's going to go into my cord ending. So I'm deliberately cutting that relatively wide. I can trim off. So all I'm doing is mimicking the edge of my stenciling. And I am being fairly careful to have a smooth, be smooth with my scissors so that I don't have any jangly, nasty edges. But it's not difficult. Okay. So let's I had 2 pairs of pliers out. So these are, aha, there it is. She says, these are the bits that we need. So these are relatively easy to sort out. So I don't need the clasp, and I don't particularly want the chain for this, but they will go to good use. So when you're opening jump rings, I can see that there's a little split there. So I've got one end side held in both 2 pairs of pliers, and I'm twisting. If you pull the 2 ends apart, you'll not be able to use it again. But we need the 2 of them. Oh, goody. It's going to be one of them days. I can tell. It's a nice little jump rings, she says. Didn't jump on the floor, fortunately, for me to have to go scrabbling, because that really wouldn't be a great look. So that one is definitely proving more difficult. There we are. Okay. So the key with these, as I say, they're cord endings, ribbon endings. So they look a bit like this, and they're designed to crimp. So I can now pop that tail end into there, and I can push that over and crimp it down. And now I can take the other side and I can rock it over and give that a good crimp. And I've got an ugly little piece of leather there that I'm just going to trim out of the way. There we are, that will work. And if you give that a nice good squidge, they're designed to be squidged, you then have your attachment to here. So if I pop that one into there, so these are just stud earring backs, but you can, again, you can get these all over the place. And this has a little hook underneath it, so these will dangle, but you choose the one that you want. And then just as I open that front to back, I can now pop that into there. And they are cord endings, so I now have a dangly earrings. So if I just, big picture of me alert coming up, there we are, I now can have a nice dangly earring up at the top. There we are. So a nice dangly earring. So it's just a different way, and it's not using masses and masses of product, is it? Let me just chop that unceremoniously out of there, and I know that means I'm wasting some of these bits. Oh dear, Deirdre, I do apologise. So I will seal that with the glossy varnish because I want to keep the sparkle of the glitter leather. Now, if you, yeah, I'm not going to worry about these being entirely the same shape-wise, partly because life's too short and partly because actually when you've got your head in the way, a little bit of asymmetry with a little bit of movement really isn't going to show very much. So there we are. So we've used paint. We can all hold a paintbrush. We've used rub-ons. We've used glitter. We've used some jewellery findings. And we've made ourselves 3 different sets of projects in the process. So literally cord ending, pop it over, take your pliers and squish it down and give it a really good squish. I'm going to take that end off now because I've got better access to it. There we are. And I can turn this over. It's easier to work from the back, and I'm going to squash that over into place and just crunch it down. If you're worried, add a little dab of glue into it. Really won't do it any harm whatsoever. Right, let's have another one of these. And I'm sticking to the bookmarks. Might be able to convince you of otherwise, my darling, I'm sure. So there we are. Let's just get that through there. Mealy, mealy. What have I done with my second pair of pliers? They're not difficult. They're really not difficult. You know, and the feather bag charm is literally a bit of glue. So I put that one together. There we are. So let us just grab that one, and then I know that I've got these completed, and then we'll have a little clear down and I'll show you all the different pieces. So that can go out of the way. I'm going to leave the bracelet because it's nearly 7 o'clock, but similar principles, maybe just a different ending. I need to seal that paint in. It's reasonably robust because it is the glitter, but even so, I do want to say it. So I'm just going to take some glossy varnish, some of the glossy varnish from here, which goes on milky but will dry clear, and I can now add that onto there. And those will return to that beautiful glittery shine. So you're not going to use very much of these products, are you? That can sit over there. Let's just get rid of that those streaky lines. There we are. With that, just leave that over. It's absolutely fine, Dolly. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. So we have a pair of glittery earrings. They have a different feel when you add the purple glitter, because that's the purple glitter. We have a bookmark. Let's just move these over there and that over there. So that is the bookmark I did on the live. This is the one I did before. So it's a bit wider, a bit shorter. I'm literally just using scraps, but I think they're very pretty. They're very effective. No two are ever going to be the same. And there is our feather bag charm. And this is the longer one from the live tonight. So that needs to be left to dry. So I hope that that's been a good activity. And we've made bespoke jewellery, bookmarks, bag charms, journal cover dangles, you name it. You could do bracelets, chokers, almost anything that you want, with a little bit of creative imagination and the right products. Just remember, if you're working with leather, you need, or faux leather for that matter, you need to make sure that you have cleaned the surface properly with the leather cleaner, well ventilated room, add your fabric and leather paint, and then seal with either the matte varnish or the glossy varnish, depending on what you want to do. So ladies, I'm going to say good night. Please, if you're inspired and have a go at some of my mad makes, tag me in a post so I can see what you're up to. So good night, stay safe, and see you next Tuesday. Bye.